llego a casa, lo pongo el fuego, me voy a cambiar y cuando me he cambiado, ya está. Las perdices, el vapor, que no se trata de eso. Y no, te lo tapas vacío. Y no se te va a anoche que no lo pone, que no lo ponga a tope, lo ponga a noche. Mientras sigo, me cambio abajo. Pero debería de poner el sátil. Sí. Y luego el pescado, ¿no has hecho pescado? Cierras. Te pones y luego lo dejas que y cuando veas, apaga, y cuando llega a 90, sube solo. Cuando ves que llega a 90, ¿y cuánto tardas en eso? No, nada, claro. Vamos, a la cada que ha fundido ya, el vaso al agua.
¿Ready? Ready. Buenas tardes a todos. Aquí, a mi izquierda, Halla Tómasdóttir. Creo que lo he pronunciado bien. Empiezo contándoles algo, un hecho que de alguna manera ha sido importante en su vida. En el año 2007 ella era presidenta de la Cámara de Comercio de Islandia. Dejó este cargo para fundar Outdoor Capital, una empresa creada por mujeres con el objetivo de incorporar los valores femeninos al mundo de las finanzas saturado de hombres. Halla vivió, al igual que todos sus compatriotas, la crisis del año 2008, cuando, como recordarán, tras la caída de Lehman Brothers, el cierre del crédito precipitó el colapso de la banca islandesa. La moneda se devaluó, la bolsa se hundió y el país se declaró en bancarrota. Fue el primer país europeo en entrar en una grave crisis. También ha sido el primero en salir de ella. En aquel momento el tamaño de los bancos era casi 10 veces el Producto Interior Bruto del país. En aquella crisis parece ser que hubo mucha testosterona. Halla está convencida de que si en los servicios financieros hubiera habido más mujeres, las cosas hubieran sido de otra manera. Ella cree en la paridad, en la igualdad, en la diversidad, pero también confía mucho en valores femeninos que considera no están suficientemente explorados y aprovechados. Feminista, es una destacada empresaria en Europa y cree que ha llegado el momento de que las mujeres dejen de ser mini hombres. Buenas noches, bienvenida a Segovia, a estas jornadas. Tras la bancarrota del país del año 2008, las mujeres, el nuevo gobierno que se constituyó tuvo mayoría de mujeres. Se despidió además a los consejeros delegados de los bancos que habían quebrado, en su inmensa mayoría se trataba de varones, se cambió de nombre a muchas entidades y se colocó al frente a mujeres. ¿De qué se trató? ¿Fue un relevo de género o un intento de cambio de modelo?
Well, thank you, and thank you all for welcoming me in Segovia. What a beautiful city you have, and what a great event you're having. I'm very honored to be there. I think changing the gender mix in society is a system change. But I don't think systems change easily. So I don't think I can say that the system has changed yet completely in Iceland, nor has it anywhere in the world. But what happened after the collapse is that women were brought into more visible, prominent leadership positions in greater numbers than before. And we started to have the conversation more about why sameness, everybody being the same, is not a good decision-making model for a business, for a government, for a country. And in some ways, I think the women came in to clean up the mess that the boys made. And I'm sorry to say that, I don't mean to bash men. I really like men, I love men. And I think that there are a lot of men that have as feminine values and the same values that I do. Most men probably share most my values, but the alpha men who were in charge of the investment banks and the financial sector in Iceland, also on Wall Street, also in the city of London, and probably here in Spain, they had an overdose of testosterone. And they made a big mess. They took excessive risks, their egos were extremely big. They thought more about their bonuses and their compensation than the sustainability of the financial sector in Iceland, the society they lived in, and the possible consequences of taking such excessive risks. And I think people in general in Iceland agreed that this is not a model we want to repeat. So we started talking much more about why we need more women in the boardroom, more women in leadership, more women leading businesses, and why it is a good idea to have diversity of opinions when we talk about things and when we make decisions on behalf of business, finance, and our societies. So I think it was a very good thing that happened, and I also think women in Iceland were very strong, and we took advantage of this moment to push the agenda to get more women into the boardroom and get more women into positions of power.
El gobierno que se formó tras el colapso de Islandia tenía una mayoría de mujeres. Fue un gobierno muy conocido en Europa. Todos mirábamos hacia Islandia porque nos parecía que estaban haciendo las cosas bastante bien. Sin embargo, paradójicamente, o no es una paradoja, en el año 2013 volvió a ganar la mayoría conservadora de centro-derecha, que de alguna manera fue la que había llevado al país a la bancarrota. Y cuesta trabajo, desde fuera, sin estar dentro del país, entender por qué pasó aquello.
That's a great question, and I'm not sure I'm going to be able to give you a great answer, but I'll give you an honest one. I believe in straight talking. It was painful to go through an economic collapse, both financially and economically, but also emotionally. And government that came into place, as well as many of the women who took responsibility, they also came under attack. Because those who are brought in to clean after a big party, once the cleaning is done and things are looking better, there's a lot of people ready to have a new party. And I think, to be fair, there is some of that going on in Iceland today. But also to explain, we had a lot of people were out of jobs. Relatively speaking, when we went into the economic collapse, we had 1% unemployment. It went to 10%. I know 10% is not a lot compared to 25% in Spain, but from 1% to 10% was a lot in Iceland. And people were worried about the economy not moving fast enough under the leadership of the leftist government, or the more left government. But also one reason was people wanted to drive the economy and get the economy going, so they wanted to swing more to the right. I think the second reason was that the Progressive Party, which is supposed to be in the center but is probably more to the right, they promised people debt relief. And the average person in Iceland at the economic collapse, if you had a house, then typically your mortgage doubled in size. And the house lowered by 50% in value. So everybody had a real economic pain to deal with. And if somebody comes out on the political stage and says, we will relieve you of your debt, then that's a very easy way to win an election. So I can't fully explain it. I will say, however, that women have gained enormous momentum since the economic crisis. They've always been strong in Iceland. And women, for example, came together with the Iceland Chamber of Commerce and government and put gender quota on the boardroom into law. First with a voluntary agreement, but then gender quota was put into law. And so today, 43% of the board directors of our companies in our stock exchange are women, which is the best situation anywhere in the world. And Iceland today has, for 6 years, been #1 in the world in terms of closing the gender gap. So it is the best place to be a woman, regardless of politics.
Eso dicen, que Islandia es uno de los mejores países en donde se puede nacer si eres una mujer. Realmente allí no hay que elegir, por ejemplo, como pasa en España y en otros muchos países, entre lo que es el trabajo y una carrera profesional y lo que es el desarrollo de una vida familiar, unos hijos, sea familia monoparental o sea en pareja.
No, and I consider myself extremely lucky to be a woman on board in Iceland, and I thank the women that came before me and the men who supported them every day. Because when I was only 7 years old, women in Iceland, this is 1975, women in Iceland decided to take the day off. They went on a strike. 90% of those women marched into the center of Reykjavik to ask for equality. And some men joined them as well. And nothing worked in Iceland that day. No banks opened, no schools opened, no groceries were sold in the stores, because nothing works when women don't work. And this changed the face of politics forever. For me, for all the women, all the men in Iceland at the time. It was such a visible experience to see that nothing works when women don't work. And what was really, really interesting is, and if you think about this for a moment, this is a different way of doing power. They went peacefully into the city of Reykjavik to sing and walk around, and no violence. Just a peaceful demonstration that women matter. 5 years later, we were the first country in the world to elect a woman as a president. She was a single mom. She had a daughter of 11 years of age. And I sometimes tell the story that when she ran for president, she ran against a few men. She was once in a meeting like we are now, and she was asked, how can you run for a president? You're a woman. We have never had a woman president before. And she was a breast cancer survivor, so she had had one of her breasts removed. And she even had one of her contestants ask, you're not only a woman, you're half a woman. She responded with such dignity. She responded, well, I was actually thinking about leading this nation, not breastfeeding it. And she won. She had such a different way of carrying power. So this is when I was 11, she had an 11-year-old daughter, and I thought, like all the young women, I thought, maybe I can be president. Those role models have been so important. And 3 years after this, women in Iceland founded an all-female political party, and they changed politics forever. And since then, we have pushed in business, we have pushed in finance. So it has been a women's movement that's put Iceland #1 in the world, and the best place to be a woman.
Halla se está refiriendo, espero decirlo bien, el nombre de la presidenta a Vigdís Tómasdóttir, ¿no? Es el nombre de la presidenta, y estamos hablando del año 1980. Posteriormente, hasta el año 2013, la primera ministra también ha sido mujer, y además una mujer que ha abierto muchas brechas porque, lesbiana, estaba casada y, bueno, incluso recuerdo en un viaje a China cuando se presentó con su mujer, como aquello generó una cierta conmoción entre las autoridades del dragón emergente, ¿no? Es decir, que en esto ustedes tienen ya una cierta tradición en ocupar puestos muy relevantes desde la condición femenina.
We do, and I am so proud of the women who have come before me, and I now have an 11-year-old daughter, and when she was born, I promised myself that, and maybe the higher spirits as well, that I would do whatever I could to make the world even more gender equal by the time she was 20. Now, I only have 9 more years to make this happen, so I'm working very hard every day on this issue. I think it's going to take a little longer. I always have very ambitious goals, but I think in 15 years from now, anybody who doesn't understand the economic and business value of women around the table is, whether you're a business or a country or a leader in any position in the world, if you don't embrace the importance of using the human, social and emotional capital of women, not to forget their financial capital, you are going to be lagging behind everybody else in your economic growth and in your social prosperity. I think it's still going to be difficult to get there, and it's not going to happen without women working really hard and more men supporting that effort. Because this is not something we need to do for women. It is something that we have to do for our economy to work and for our societies to prosper. This is an issue that benefits all of us. I didn't start doing this because I wanted to help women. Today, I really am committed to helping women and girls, and I do it also for that. But I do it because I want to help our economy flourish. I want to help our businesses be responsible and do better. And at the end of the day, I want a better bottom line for all of us. And there is so much data out there that shows us that when we have gender balance in business, in finance, in government, everything is better. Everything.
Bueno, quería dejar clarísimo que Halla no cree que el mundo deba de ser un gineceo mandado y que todo tenga que estar en manos de las mujeres, que cree en el equilibrio, en este 50%, 50-50 del que pueden salir siempre los mejores resultados, y que ella insiste en que los valores más importantes no tienen género, son comunes a hombres y mujeres. Pero sí, usted habla, y nos gustaría que nos contara, que bueno, que de alguna manera tenemos valores comunes, los mejores, pero también valores distintos, ¿no? ¿Qué nos diferencia? ¿Qué nos diferencia a la hora de abordar? ¿Quién tiene más inteligencia emocional? ¿Quién tiene más iniciativa? ¿Cómo se combina todo eso para un mejor resultado?
This is a great question, but also one that I have to be careful in how I answer it. But let me tell you this. We know from research, and I know from experience, that women and men are typically not the same. There are women who behave like men. I call them men in skirts. Because a lot of those women actually made early success in business and into the boardroom. Women who behave like men. And there are lots of men who share the same value set that you and I do. So I want to make a difference between sex, which is man and woman, and gender, which is feminine and masculine. Inside all of us, we have feminine and masculine values, but we don't embrace them in the same amounts. And men more typically have more masculine values, and women more typically have more feminine values. Sorry, this is a little bit of a lecture. But research has shown us that women have at least 3 very different attributes that they bring to the table. First, their attitude to risk. Women are less prone to take excessive risk, and they are more prone to what I would call risk awareness. And that is simply understanding the risks that we take. Asking the questions, is this a good idea? What is going to be the consequence of this decision? And so forth and so on. So that's the first thing, attitude to risk. So having women and men together making decisions is a good idea. The men are willing to charge ahead, maybe follow the herd, do like everybody else, and the women are asking the questions and making sure that the dialogue is good before the decision is made. Second issue is leadership. Men are more likely to have a transactional leadership style. Let's get it done, let's have power over people and make them do it. And women are more likely to have a transformational leadership style, which is let's have power through people, let's empower people to do things, and let's work side by side with our people to make it happen. It's a different way of doing power. And I think this is it's always been a better leadership style, maybe not a better management style, but a better leadership style. But it's particularly important today because we live in such a complicated world. We have such big problems in the European Union, in the financial markets, everywhere. And there's no one person who knows it all and can tell everybody to go do this or that. We need people who can empower large groups of people with different way of thinking to come up with the best solution to our problems. And I think women are particularly good at that. Third, and this is sometimes the most controversial one, but it is very proven in research, this is true, women bring different moral and ethical attitudes to the table. They are more likely, when they sit in a boardroom, to ask questions about how is this going to impact all stakeholders, not just the shareholder. Because we can no longer have businesses that think only about the economic profit and do so at the expense of the environment or people at large or next generations. We have been doing that for too long. We cannot go on like that. And women are typically prone to ask about that. They ask about corporate governance. They ask about, is this the right thing to do towards our community? Can we do this differently so we don't hurt our community? So they have typically a bigger definition of the bottom line. And I think that's the only way to be in business, investments, and finance, taking a look to the future. Having a very narrow view of just the economic profit is going to be part of the past.
La sociedad islandesa parece modélica en lo que es el reparto de funciones entre hombres y mujeres y en las políticas de igualdad. Pero, por ejemplo, ¿hay brecha salarial todavía? ¿Hay violencia, tasas de violencia de género preocupantes? ¿Cómo está en esta materia?
Yes, unfortunately, both the salary gap and gender violence is a global issue. There is no place free of those two things. Not one country, not one city, anywhere. 1 in 3 women is subject to violence, which is incredible and unacceptable. And that's a global statistic. We also have rape, we also have domestic violence in Iceland. I'm sad to say so, but perhaps to a lesser degree than many of the stories I've heard here. I felt a little bit bad when I sat here talking about business and leadership and investments, when I hear about the incredible pain that women, physical and emotional pain that women go through in many other countries. And I feel so privileged to be born in Iceland, and I think probably most of us here are privileged. But I think the solution to end violence and the pay gap and the short-sightedness of business is to have more women around the key decision-making tables in the world. I think many of the problems we have in the Middle East, in Africa, in the less democratic parts of the world are often upheld by governments and big businesses who weigh the economic issues here and the social consequences or the impact here. And I think economic profit is very important. Economic profit is important. We cannot build businesses and create jobs without it. But we have to start weighing our impact equally as important as our economic profit. That's the new form of capitalism, conscious capitalism or capitalism 2.0, we have to start looking at a bigger bottom line, measure it, and talk about it. And the reason I believe this is happening is, one, I'm meeting increasingly more people. They happen to be more women, but also many enlightened men who are thinking in this way. It's still a small portion of the investment world, but more people think this way today than 5 years ago, 8 years ago. And the young people, they really have a different set of values. I can tell you two stories that I find very interesting. I was recently with board directors from big companies, Nestle, JP Morgan, some of the famous big companies in the world. They both of these board directors, both of them being women, telling the truth, they told me that now when they offer young people, the best talented people, to work with them, so many of them say no thanks. And this may be hard to understand in a country that has unemployment. But they have people who say, I don't want to work in a financial company that has no values, no purpose. Or I don't want to push more unhealthy products. I want to have a purpose in my life. I want to be proud of the work I do. And I would rather be an entrepreneur and create a business that makes a positive impact than work for a big company that isn't contributing in a positive way to the world. So both of these companies and many others are trying to change their ways, but it takes a very long time to change organizational cultures. It can take, well, at least 5 years, usually 15 years. And it takes even longer to change society. So I actually think that when we take the helicopter view in 2030, and we look at what's happened, we will say, from the year 1970 to the year 2030, it's only 60 years, we changed the world, and it was a women's revolution that changed the world. I really think we are going in the right direction, but it's really extremely tough right now because women are still valued at we have a lower value for women than we have for men, for feminine than we have for masculine. We don't have a world in balance, but the balance is increasing, the gap is diminishing, but we need to work hard at it.
Como usted sabe, en España los índices de desempleo son elevados, son muy elevados, en torno al 25%. El desempleo juvenil se acerca al 50%. Las cifras islandesas nos parecen estar en el paraíso, pero cuando ustedes rozaron sus propios índices de desempleo sobre el 10-11%, pues evidentemente también lo sufrieron. Aquí en España la crisis ha golpeado más a las mujeres que a los hombres. ¿En Islandia golpeó de la misma manera o no?
Initially not. Initially it was better for women, but now that's also true. So it's true globally that women have suffered, female jobs have suffered most places more in the long run. But I want to say something about this unemployment issue because I think it is important. I really think that the period in our economy where we can look for jobs, particularly jobs that come from government or big business, is over. We have a new reality today, which is we have to make our jobs. We have to become much more entrepreneurial. So entrepreneurship is the number one, or should be the number one priority for any country, for any municipality. And one of my favorite projects that I have ever done, and the project that really made me believe in women's ways of doing business, was when I was part of founding a new university in Iceland called Reykjavík University, and we started an entrepreneurship and empowerment program directed at women. And we trained a lot of women in becoming entrepreneurs, in taking charge of their finances, in becoming leaders, in taking their daughters to work. And we trained teenage girls to become entrepreneurs and think about entrepreneurship as a valid choice in life. This was in 1999 that we started, and then the dot-com bubble hit, so another smaller economic crisis, and we lost a lot of jobs. But we were part of creating a new economic upswing by tapping into women and encouraging them and others to create companies. So I think for Spain, I'm very worried about the almost 50% unemployment with young people, because I think the consequence will be serious social issues for Spain if something isn't done. But what I would be doing if I was in a position of leadership in Spain, I would be really focusing on entrepreneurship, on creating new jobs. There are so many problems in the world that need to be solved. And you have great schools and universities in Spain. You have the human capital. The question is, do you need to do something to change the mentality from waiting for a job with the government or big business to, I am going to create my future. And not only can I create a business, I can create a business that makes money and makes the world a better place, which is the new form of business that I am personally very interested in.
Quería preguntarle, porque el tiempo avanza rápidamente y quiero dar la palabra a todas las personas que quieran hablar y que le están escuchando. Quería preguntarle por la salida de la crisis. Ustedes han salido de la crisis en torno al 2012-2013, mucho antes que otros países europeos. Tuvo mucho que ver con la salida de la crisis el que se negaran a pagar en las condiciones que quería, por ejemplo, el Fondo Monetario Internacional, la deuda, porque ustedes no se han negado a pagar la deuda, simplemente no en los tiempos que ellos marcaban. Y aquel referéndum en el que creo que un 93% de los islandeses dijeron no vamos a pagar así porque compromete nuestro futuro y porque compromete a una o a dos generaciones de islandeses.
Let me start with the end of that question. It's true that Iceland did not bail out or pay back foreign creditors. We couldn't. We have the banks, the financial sector was almost 12 times the size of Iceland's economy at the collapse. We did not have, and we have a currency called krona. Nobody wants a krona, it's worthless. So we could not do it. It was never an option for Iceland to do it. It was not a question of whether we wanted to. We did not have foreign currency to pay back the creditors. So Iceland was in that way, I don't know if I should say lucky or unlucky, that always happened, but it was never a possibility to pay back foreign creditors. Having said that, I have to correct something which is never nice to do when you're an Icelander. Everybody wants to look at Iceland and say, you are out of the crisis. I don't know that we are out of the crisis. We put in capital controls and currency restrictions to keep the capital within Iceland, foreign capital and our own money. So I can't take my money outside of Iceland to do good, even if I want to. So all that money has to invest in something. And so in some ways we have rebuilt our economy and our economic growth, our financial markets within a bubble. And it may explode again. But let's not talk about Iceland only in this context, because nobody has done anything to solve the financial crisis. We have rebuilt the banks in the very way that they were before the economic crisis by printing money in Europe and in the US. And the only consequence is that everybody has more debt, except the 1% who were wealthy before. They have become wealthier in every country since 2008 than in any period of our history before. But the middle class has almost died in every Western country. There is no middle class anymore. I don't think this is sustainable. I don't think this will work. So I hate to, you have to ask me something fun after this, because I hate to say it, I don't think the economic crisis is over.
Una pregunta positiva, pero antes otra que es más bien un interrogante. No hemos terminado con la banca de casino, con la llamada banca de casino. ¿Cuál sería la solución? ¿Regular el sistema financiero y separar la banca financiera de lo que es la banca minorista, la banca de los contribuyentes, de los que tenemos ahí nuestros pequeños ahorros o escasamente el salario que nos ingresan todos los meses? Porque se habla mucho de ello, pero al final no se toman medidas.
Yes, I think, thank you for asking me about the solution, because I hate to end by talking about a problem. There is, in my opinion, there are solutions, and I have said we need to do three things just to make things easy. First, we have to separate investment banking from retail banking. Investment activities are very important, but they should never be carried out with the taxpayers' money. I cannot go out and take risk and then just go into your pocket to get the money when it doesn't go well. And then go into your pocket to pay myself big bonuses when things are not even going that well. We cannot do this. In investment banking, we were paying the highest paid employee 350 times the lowest paid employee in 2008. Nobody is worth 350 times more than another person, even if that person is cleaning or making you food. Nobody. And when I learned about compensation, the normal ratio was 20-1. And I studied in the United States of America. And I studied in the 1990s. So what happened? We did not create value to do this. So we have to separate those two. Retail banking has to work, and the government has a role to keep retail banking alive. It's almost like electricity. It needs to work. Investment banking should be only carried out with risk capital, private capital that can be lost when things go poorly and can gain a lot of money when things go well. They have to take full responsibility. This is number one. Very important, and everybody who has left the financial sector agrees. It's just the people who are still in positions of power who disagree. So that brings me to the second thing. We have to remove money from politics. Wall Street runs Washington, D.C. In Washington, D.C., there are 5 financial sector lobbyists for every elected person. 5-1. And they probably make at least 5 times their salary, maybe even much more than that. We have to put a law, and it would on taking the money out of Washington. We have to do it, and America has to lead this. The third thing I want to do, and we've done it in Iceland, we've done it in Norway, and we're starting to do it in other countries, I want to put gender quota on the boardroom. Because I really believe if we require businesses to have gender balance in the boardroom, we will have better dialogue, we will have better decisions, we will have better moral and ethical attitudes, and this is going to cascade into society and solve a lot of our problems. So if I got to be the ruler of the world for one day, these are the 3 things I would do. And I really think they would help enormously.
Mi última pregunta, antes de no robarle más tiempo al público que está aquí con nosotros. Hace 2 días Islandia renunció definitivamente por el momento a pedir el ingreso en la Unión Europea. Este sentimiento de euroescepticismo ha crecido tras la crisis. Yo recuerdo en un viaje que hice a Islandia que me decía el alcalde de las Islas Westman, le pregunté, ¿pero ustedes por qué no quieren estar en Europa? Y me dijo, ¿usted entraría en una casa que se está incendiando? Y bueno, directamente dije, no entraría, ni con un traje de amianto. ¿Se han sentido ustedes humillados por Europa cuando les exigió el pago de la deuda? ¿Ha influido en esta decisión de ahora?
No, I did not personally, and I am an international citizen, and I was pushing for Iceland to join the European Union, or at least explore joining the European Union in seriousness in 2005 and 2006, before the economic crisis, because I was worried that we had a very small krona, our currency, and that things would really turn out poorly for us with a big financial sector and a very small currency. So I wanted to join the European Union. And I think after the crisis, maybe 2/3 of Icelanders agreed. But there was another reason why I wanted to. So one was the currency issue, and the other reason, maybe more importantly, is I wanted to belong to a decision-making bodies that were not as not in our small related community. Because you can imagine, I don't know if you all know this, but Iceland only has 330,000 citizens. It is one of the smallest countries in the world. So everybody was involved in the big party that was going on. And those who did not want to be in the party or raised their hand in 2007 and said, maybe we should stop growing our banks, maybe this is not a good idea, they were just no fun. And I founded my company because I was one of those people who thought maybe we should stop drinking. I like drinking, but I just think about the hangover a little bit too. But I think things have really changed in Iceland now. And I think it's probably, we went from two-thirds wanting to join the European Union to maybe 50-50. And now I think it's probably majority that does not want to join the European Union. Why is that? Number one, Europe has issues. It's a real challenge and no one has any real solution. Well, we know what the solution is, I think, but nobody, at least the big players in the UK, is not willing to do what it takes. Which would be to really be a union. But the UK has one foot in the EU and one foot in the UK, and it chooses which foot to step in, depending on what's good for them. Everybody's thinking about their own interests today, and so are the people of Iceland. And right now, things are looking better in Iceland than in the European Union. I don't think this is a good way to make decisions. We have to be more strategic and more long-term. And I have to say, on behalf of myself and many of the people of Iceland, I was very disappointed to hear our foreign minister announce that we are stopping this dialogue with the European Union in Slovakia. He was in Slovakia, not in Iceland, and there had been no dialogue with the people of Iceland. I thought I lived in a democracy, and I thought that perhaps it was only right that the people of Iceland got to vote on this issue. But we have not had that opportunity. I don't think we would choose the European Union, but I think it is our right to choose. I don't think one elected official or even a government that is with him in office should decide on behalf of us on such a big issue.